It is time we answer nature's greatest mystery. Will uploading a vertical video onto YouTube do literally anything? Hello, my name is Ethan Cat, and if you've never seen me before, I like to put noxious chemicals on my face for fun and potentially profit. Mostly the first one, though. That's right. I'm that guy you keep seeing on your various social media dashboards who you look at and think, hey, that looks suspiciously like that other guy who does that other thing. Those two guys can't possibly be the same guy because their interests and hobbies are so dissimilar from each other. Well, spoiler alert, I have other interests sometimes. Anyway, I'm gonna do some makeup, and while I'm doing that, I've sourced some Q&A questions which I've harvested over on my Instagram, which you should follow if you like that social media. I don't, but I still need to use it for whatever this is. Now, just like any tabletop miniature, which I'm sure you've painted at some point in your life if you have seen my videos before, you have to start with a good base coat. So to kick things off, I'll be using some primer to prime my face. They choose the names of these things for a reason. While I'm going through this process, I'll also be answering some questions that I've sourced over from my Instagram. I like to do Q&A sort of stuff over on my Instagram every now and again because people tend to ask me a lot of questions and stuff in comments and things like that, but anytime somebody does that, I'll read that, go, that's an interesting question, I'm gonna think of an answer and come back to that later. And then I never do. So sometimes I have to proactively source questions and put them in a YouTube video. I'm only human, man. One thing that I did not consider before I started doing this is that it is harder than you might think to do makeup stuff on a phone screen rather than an actual proper mirror. I mean, conceptually, you might think that they're more or less the same thing, but the reflection of myself that I'm looking at is so much significantly smaller than I am in real life. It's hard to properly see what I'm doing. Like, have I covered my entire face? Is it all rubbed in? Like, I actually genuinely can't tell. My whole face is a little bit shiny and it's reflecting the light off my ring light, so I'm gonna say that's good enough. Using primer is very important because it helps all the other makeup that you put on actually, like, you know, stick to your skin and not flake off immediately. So that's why it's a very important step. I'm told. I have no idea what I'm doing, and you shouldn't think I do. I also have this other lightweight primer, which is better for my eyelids, just because they're like different types of skin, I think. I actually don't know if this particular primer is any better for my eyes than any other primer that I use, but I haven't gone blind from using it yet, so honestly that's a win for me. And after that, I'm going to be using a liquid foundation base, which is going to make me look a bit like a ghoul for a little bit, but that's rectified in some of the other steps that come later. Like, as soon as I put it on, I feel like I'm a flat, monotone character from like a PS2 era video game. Blah, 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 blah. As we've started getting into summer, I think my skin has become a little bit more tan, so this foundation is looking a little bit more pale on my face. So if I look like a corpse for a little bit, I'm not sorry. It's part of the process, and I won't apologize for that. Gotta make sure you get it on your neck, too. That's always the part that I forget. I don't know if this is the particular brand that I use, but I feel like it's always really hard to fully rub this foundation in. But I end up masking a lot of the weird patches with powder later, so I guess it's fine. Alright, now that the first layer of foundation's there, let's get to my first audience question. I can't do this expression naturally, I genuinely have to hold it up like that. How did you first get into alternative fashion? Good question. So to take it back in time for a little bit, I was a weird kid, right? Like, not gender-defying, doing makeup stuff weird, but just like general teen weird. Like, if a conversation that we were having wasn't about the Super Mario Brothers or the anime Bleach, like, I just didn't care to continue that. Like, honestly, there is no doubt in my mind that I would have started this stuff way sooner if I actually, like, wanted to put in the effort to be a little bit weird. I was such a blasé teenager that I didn't even put in the effort to be weird. Like, I just sat at home playing League of Legends and Counter-Strike. So, you know, time goes on, I just sit in my room playing video games, not really getting up to much. And then one day I sort of get up when I'm around, like, 17, 18, 19 years old, and go like, hey, I fucking hate myself. It's definitely because I'm fat. Now, for context, I was a chunky kid, right? Like, I wasn't that big in the grand scheme of things, but, like, you know how teens be, you know? You get described as a fat fuck by a supposed friend on the train home from school one time, and it sticks in there. So I sat down and was like, okay, in order to not hate myself, I have to not be fat. So I went out to the gym, started doing exercise, and I lost like a shit ton of weight. Now, not to spoil the end of the story or anything like that, but that wasn't the reason. that's not a good way of thinking. It's not right or accurate or based in reality. But, you know, social media, public perception, Hollywood magazine, like, you know, it all warps what's going on up here. And so I lost a bunch of weight. I got super healthy, dropped like 25 kilograms or something like that. Didn't help all that much, funnily enough. So then I sit down and have another think, and I go like, well, I lost a bunch of weight, I'm really skinny now. Clearly I hate myself because I'm not jacked as shit. Like, it doesn't matter if you're skinny, you gotta have big, honking Arnold Schwarzenegger muscles or something like that, I don't know. So then I kept going to the gym, kept working out, and then I started to bulk up. Now, I wasn't shredded or jacked by any means, but it was probably the most fit that I've ever been in my entire life. And again, surprise, surprise, that really didn't do anything. So then I went back to the drawing board, I sat in my room, had a little long think about it, and it's like, well, okay, I didn't like myself when I was overweight, I didn't like myself when I was skinny, and I didn't like myself when I'm a big, strong, masculine man, which is arguably what I'm supposed to be. What if I'm transgender? I sort of sat on that one for a little while, just let that ruminate and stew under there. And, you know, I sort of dabbled in a few, like, gender identity expression kind of things as time went on. Like, I painted my nails, which I need to do again, Jesus Christ. I tried to create female characters and character customizers. That was scandalous for me at the time. So then I sort of just said, well, fuck it, let's dive into this, let's give this a shot, we'll see what happens, and if it changes my life irrevocably forever, then yeah, I bought a shitty dress on Amazon. I did the worst eyeliner you've ever seen on any human being ever. I looked myself dead in the eyes in a mirror, called myself a different name, and nothing happened. So I sort of just sat there, having gone through what I thought was the, you know, logical progression of my sort of mental worldview problems that I was having. And then I just sort of sat there and thought to myself, like, hold on, did I do any of this because it was the right answer? Or was I doing this because I thought it was the right answer? And that's sort of what it came down to. I was unhappy? Must be because I'm fat. I'm skinny and unhappy? Well, it must be because you're not jacked. You're jacked and not happy? Well, there's gotta be something else going on. You know what I mean? I took a real long, hard look at my life and myself after that, and I decided that instead of doing what I thought would be the right thing to do in any situation, I really decided to pull back and ask myself, what do I want? And so now, pretty much anything I do in my day-to-day life is something that I want to do for me. Like, I don't exercise and try to do gym stuff and get physically fit because I think it's going to solve my problems. I do it because I enjoy it. It's physically cathartic, it, you know, keeps me healthy and active, and it's really good for my overall mental health. Like, I am not in the best shape that I've ever been in my entire life. I have had six-pack abs at some point during my life, and all I remember about that is that I was really, really, really thirsty all the time. And then when it comes to alternative fashion and makeup and everything like that, I just think it's fun. I think it's expressive. I think it's cool looking. I like the way that I look when I do it, so I do it. That's it. Yeah, so I think the short answer to that really long-winded anecdote is like, I was trying to figure some stuff out. I figured some stuff out, realized that I'm still, you know, perfectly happy with my body and my gender identity, but I picked up a new hobby along the way. So, it's a win for me. Alright, I should probably move on to the next step at some point. I'm just yapping. This is one of the best Waterline pencils I've ever used in my entire life, and you know that I mean that because I'm still using it even though I've fucked up sharpening it like a dozen times, and there's wooden splintery bits that sometimes stab into my eyeball. Let's go. Just gotta pick that one off, like that's a hazard. That's a hazard right there. This is the part that I hate doing on a phone screen because, yeah, I'm just gonna stab my eye a whole bunch. I'm just gonna have to like really awkwardly zoom in here because I need to get as close as possible. This is terrible television. I don't know why, but seeing it reflected on the phone screen is just absolutely unfeasible to me. Hold on, there's a better solution to this. Modern problems require modern solutions. Okay, so this palette has a mirror in it, so I can like actually use that to do some work. Okay, and how am I gonna hold my eyelid down? I'm gonna have to do this one off camera. There we go, a perfect waterline, and I only stabbed my eyes 5 times. Ow. Honestly, if you've never done makeup or anything like that before and you want to give it a go, I'd suggest just putting a little bit of like, a waterline eyeliner on your waterline, essentially. It's a really simple look that really brings out the boldness of the eyes, and I don't know, it's one of my classic go-to looks that I personally really enjoy, and maybe you will too. Also, it helps you get over the fear of accidentally stabbing yourself in the eye with eyeliner and things like that, because you'll stab yourself in the eye with eyeliner and things like that. And then you'll learn that it's not that bad, you know? Like, once you go through the excruciating experience of getting eyeliner in the white of your eye, so you just have like a little black dot floating in the white of your eye like the fucking Venom symbiote, then nothing else can really be worse than that. I'm now just going to use a natural eyeshadow palette to put a very neutral skin tone underneath my eyelid to give it a bit more definition, pop. If you wanted good words, this is not the channel or video for you. Ow. My eyes. Ow. 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 It's very subtle, but you can see there's a little bit of shade under here now that really highlights the, dark of the eyeliner that I put on my waterline. Alright, so now here comes the awkward part. I can close my left eye in order to do eyeshadow stuff to it, but I actually can't close my right eye without closing the other one as well. Like, genuinely, this is my attempt at blinking in just my right eye. Can't really see what I'm doing, but that's fine. I just sort of have to go through this looking like I'm surprised, and that's kind of spooky, honestly. Very subtle, but it adds a little bit of lift. A little bit. Now, I can do the fun colors. But before we get into that, I might as well dive into the next audience question, which is, where do you shop for clothes? I mean, I assume this is in reference to my silly little outfits that I post on the internet.com and not, I think this is from Rebel Sport, if memory serves. This is kind of a tough one for me to answer because I'm genuinely not sure what the answer is these days. Originally, when I was getting started with this, I bought a lot of, gothy stuff from, shitty, cheap online stores like AliExpress. I was experimenting with a lot of things at the time. Like, I didn't want to, break the bank for something that I might not even do a second time. Oh, how naive I was. So I got a lot of stuff from there, but after I started taking my fashion stuff a little bit more seriously, I don't think that's the right word, but whatever. As I kept doing this stuff, I wanted to buy from some, actual brands and not just get, cheap, shitty stuff from China, for lack of a better term. So I decided to check out some independent stores that were advertised to me on social media, and then I realized they were all pretty much getting all of their stuff from the same place, which, to be honest, was the cheap, shitty places like AliExpress. So I'm kind of at a point where I have a lot of, weird alt clothes in my wardrobe that I know probably came from dubious locations, and I don't really want to buy stuff like that from those kinds of places, if I can help it, that is. Back when I lived in Australia, I'd buy a lot of stuff from the online retailer Berserk. They're essentially, the local online store for buying, all the Killstar and other established goth brand stuff, which is really hard for me to get down there in Australia. You'd think now that I live in Canada, it would be much easier. But it's really not. I tried to buy some stuff directly from Killstar the other week, and the shipping was super expensive. Because it's technically international shipping, even though they just have to drive it up the road to Canada. So to be honest, a lot of the stuff that I get now these days honestly comes from, thrift or department stores. I've kind of shifted my strategy a little bit, so instead of going out of my way to find goth or alternative fashion, out in the wild or find specific stores for it, I've tried to change up my mentality a little bit. So now I live in a world where if I see something that's a little bit goth, a little bit alternative, and think, ooh, maybe I'd like that, I just fucking go for it. I don't think about it. I don't sit here wondering, oh, should I? Maybe? I'm like, will this make me happy? If yes, then go. If no, else, error 404. I don't know how fucking coding works. But in that vein, if anybody knows any goth or alternative stores in Canada, please help. There we go. There we go. There we go. One of my little makeup life hacks that I like to employ is I like to put the eyeshadow all the way up to my eyebrow because I have what's called hooded eyes, which means the top of my skull physically goes over my eyes so you can't actually really see my eyelids at the best of times. I hope these colors are coming out good. The mirror on this palette is so dusty that I can't see shit. If it's bad, we'll all find out together. I decided to go for a bit of a purple look today because I actively wanted to, shake things up and do something a little different. And then I completely forgot that purple was the color I used last time. I'm not a perfect man. Far from it. I'm kinda stupid, actually. And now for the part everybody asks me the most questions about. The eyeliner. Look, I know two things in this life. One, eyeliner is really hard and takes me about 15 minutes to do because half of my time is literally just spent pacing back and forth around my room trying to hype myself up to actually go out and do it. And two, I know for a full fact that I'm gonna need a whole ass mirror for this one, so yeah, I'm just gonna stop the recording and come back when it's done. There we go. Wasn't that such an easy and fun process? It was actually excruciatingly difficult and painful. You might notice that most of the time when I do eyeliner, I don't actually make it go on top of my eyelid at any point. This again comes back to the aforementioned hooded eye phenomenon. Most of the time, if I'm doing eyeliner, I put it actually on my eye there. The second I blink or move my eye in any meaningful fashion whatsoever, it will directly stain the top of my eyes, like up here, and it'll just be a mess, man. Plus, when I only do eyeliner like this, my hooded eyes sort of block out those spaces anyway, so it's kind of like, you can't really see it anyway. Like, why work on something that nobody's gonna see, you know? Now, before I move on to lipstick or anything like that, I think I'll do one last audience question, because after that point, it won't be super easy for me to talk anymore. When did you first get into doing makeup? Yes, I know it says how. I misread the question when I saved it. Plus, when you consider I also kinda answered the how question to begin with anyway, as I'll just do the when. Officially, I first tried using makeup in December of 2019. It's really easy for me to trace back the origins of my makeup use because my first attempt was on New Year's Eve of 2019. Here is a picture of it. Not bad for a first time, I don't think. I did it to surprise my partner of the time, and he seemed to enjoy it, so it was a win for me. In terms of when I first started doing it online on the internet, I think that was later in 2020 or earlier 2021. Because it was coronavirus, and I was incredibly bored. It was mostly me posting selfies on a Twitter that not many people really followed, so I didn't really give a shit about the consequences or broader consensus. The first time I posted about it on TikTok, which is probably my primary platform these days, I did it because I was bored at home with coronavirus. I'll see if I can find the video and just slap it in there. So a couple people now have asked me why I like to do my makeup a little bit before I go live on stream, and well, the simple answer is I think it looks nice, you know? It adds a little element of that performative flair. Makes me stand out from the billion other 20-something white guy dudes on Twitch.tv, and quite frankly, I got tired of people telling me I look like fucking a Nizion, so I decided to take matters into my own goddamn hands. Yeah, it all snowballed from there. Holy shit, I've been doing this for a couple years now, what the fuck? Let this be a lesson to you. You try something once and you might end up doing it for half a decade longer. And now to apply lipstick on in total silence, because once I start doing this, I won't be able to talk for like 5 minutes. Someone out there is going to be happy about that. I'm gonna need a mirror to even this out. Doing makeup on like a phone screen recording is like deceptively difficult to do. Like I fully cannot judge half of the shit that I'm doing. Nah, fuck it, I'll give it a try though. Yeah, good enough. I haven't used this purple before. I hope it's good. Oh, it's one of these. Also, just for your reference, anytime I have to wipe off any excess makeup that I have, it always just goes to my foot. Like, I'm confident that no one's ever gonna see this, so it's just a fucking battlefield down there, man. Actually, fuck it, here it is for reference. Okay, for having never used this shade before, it's come off alright, I think. It has a bit more of a matte texture than I'm used to, so the application was a little bit wonky, and I think there's some, like, little bits down there that I'm gonna need to clean up in a mirror or something. But with a little bit of cleanup, I'm sure it'll be fine. Shade's not too bad, actually. Huh. Anyway, this is a quick, simple makeup look that I like to do from time to time, and I hope you enjoyed seeing me put it together. Or waiting around when I had to do a whole bunch of stuff off camera, because I'm not confident enough to do it on a phone screen, but I hope it was alright either way. So now I'm going to take this look, put on some delightfully impractical clothes, and take some cool pictures for Instagram, because that's my hobby that I do. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found it mildly interesting, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. If it's not the evening right now, go fuck yourself. I'll see you around.